Today on the podcast, we have Jim and Sara Masters. We're going to dive into their 12-day couples Scotland trip that my partner Jeff planned out for them. And then we're going to get into, what they have in store for the future. Enjoy. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Travel Royally Podcast. Today, we've got Jim Masters and Sara Masters. They're good friends of Jeff Bartholomew. I believe Jeff helped him with the trip to Scotland. They did a couples trip with another couple, I believe. We'll get into that later. But thank you guys for being on. How is your night going?
Yeah, it's going great. Thanks. Having some lovely weather back here, Hayden, which is kind of a surprise in Nebraska. We're having some really nice temperatures. So
Yeah. So y'all bounce between Nebraska and Arizona. Tell us how that works. Where y'all from?
go ahead.
Well, we're from Omaha or Papillion, Nebraska.
Okay.
We've lived here for 40 plus years.
Gosh, yeah.
Oh, long time. But went to high school in Fargo, North Dakota. And so here in Omaha, and then and Jim's from Arcadia, Nebraska.
Yeah, a little small town. And we met at the University of Nebraska, Hayden. And then a couple of years ago, we decided, gosh, apparently the Nebraska winters are always going to be bad. So we got out of here and got a place in Arizona to have a little more golfing weather in Arizona. So yeah, it was a great idea.
Perfect. So what kind of courses did y'all grow up playing in Nebraska?
Well, I'll
Anything
tell you,
special?
Sarah grew up playing a lot nicer courses. My first course I ever played, Hayden, had a sand green. The greens were made of sand, and you'd rake the greens. There's a little place over by my hometown, weird as heck. And then I grew up, didn't really play that much golf until actually, when Sarah and I started dating, and when we got married, we played more golf. But Sarah had access to nicer places that she could play.
Sara, what about you? Seems like you got the good stories.
I started playing golf when I was in high school, the Fargo Country Club.
Okay.
And just started playing and continued since then. And, I don't know if there was any special courses prior to that, but that's kind of the history for me.
I think the real catalyst to why we play golf is Sarah's dad was such an avid golfer. And for me to fit in the family, I figured I better play golf. And for Sarah to get to spend any time with her dad and me, she needed to play more golf. So that was kind of, I think her dad, Chick, was the catalyst as to why we took up golf so much.
Right.
Yeah, I got the easy in with Jeff just because I played golf. And then another thing is I went to Cincinnati and he went to Cincinnati.
Right.
We didn't know that prior to me and my wife meeting each other. We met in Nashville. So that was a super weird coincidence. But so both of y'all started golf early and y'all were already playing golf when y'all met, correct?
Yeah.
Pretty much. So
Yeah.
did y'all
More so after we got married. We were fortunate enough to join a country club here in Omaha, and our boys were at an age where they were chasing, a lot of soccer and baseballs, and so we had some time to start playing a little bit of golf. And I think we really took it up more seriously when they, were old enough to go to high school and then college. Then we had more time to actually play golf. We were pretty committed to the family there in those early years, and so golf wasn't a priority, but it became more and more easy to get on golf when the boys were in college.
Yeah. Golf definitely becomes a priority in your life, especially when you have more time.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what am I going to do now? Play golf every day.
It's great for vacations. And then we did a lot of couples golf activities. So it was kind of a social aspect as well.
That was something I talked to Jeff quite a little bit, even when we were planning our Scotland trip, is that, we enjoy couple stuff, and we enjoy the fact we can go out with other couples and play golf. We're in a couple different leagues, and lots of fun. A different golfing environment for both of us when we're doing a couples, a little more pressure, but it's a lot of fun. We enjoy it.
So how did y'all meet Jeff, my partner?
I think I was the first to meet Jeff. I know I was. Jeff and I are colleagues at Focal Point Business Coaching, and he and I just hit it off, and we kind of always agreed that we would have some regular conversations. And part of our regular conversation, anybody that knows Jeff, part of that conversation is going to involve Scotland at some point. And we just started kind of bantering about Scotland and stuff. And then I talked about Sarah and me golfing, and we were coming up on our 40th anniversary for a wedding anniversary, and really kind of said, gee, we always wanted to go to Scotland. Had never really figured out a way to do it or the time to do it, but it all kind of fell into place where Jeff said, well, geez, I can help you do that. Yeah. So it was just great serendipitous moment when Jeff was willing to help. Our timing was good, and we were able to go.
Sweet. Yeah. I think anybody will agree when you're talking with Jeff, golf or Scotland or Ireland is going to come into the conversation eventually.
Absolutely. He's got a real passion for it, which
Yeah.
came through. And thank goodness we found it, because, and we're going to talk about that trip, but it was just, for us, it was perfect. For a couple's golf trip, it was perfect.
Mhm.
Yeah. And we've got another trip that we're going to talk about a little bit that Royal Links is partnering with Italy on. So we'll talk about either after the podcast or a little bit at the end.
Cool.
So how about y'all? How did y'all meet?
We met down in Lincoln at the University of Nebraska, and basically
Co-ed dorms?
Actually sorority and fraternities.
Yeah.
Okay.
Across the street.
And we were both in
Almost
a
the same.
business college, so we had classes together, and
Gotcha.
just one thing after another.
I said one of the best things about me, Hayden, is my name was Masters and Sarah's maiden name was Mormon. And so we sat alphabetically next to each other. So it was really good planning on my parents' part.
That was always the best in
Yeah.
school, when you got to sit next to your crush, right?
Yeah.
So Scotland, how did that start getting into your brain about like you wanting to take a trip there? Did you always just have that in the back of your head of wanting to go to Scotland, or was it Jeff that put that idea in your head?
It was Jim's idea.
Yeah, I'll cook off on this one. I'd always, whenever anybody ever said, well, you're ever going to go overseas? I said, well, yeah, someday. And they said, where? Scotland. And I always wanted to do Scotland. It's the home of golf. So much history there. And with the last name Masters, I take a great interest in the Augusta every year in the Masters, but there's so much of that history that ties back to Scotland. I thought, I really want to go there. So again, it's kind of funny that Sarah and I were talking about some big trip we ought to take on our 40th anniversary. And I happened at that point also be talking to Jeff. And it all just kind of fell into place where he became, I think the idea to go to Scotland was first, but then Jeff made it happen, because then it became something of a reality.
Yeah.
And I think the really cool thing about this whole idea with Jeff is I said, I don't want to do a touristy trip, Jeff. I don't want to go over there and be another American tourist, going to the courses, getting in and off of a bus. I wanted this to be our trip where we can go as couples, but we're avid golfers, but we're not crazy addicted golfers. We wanted to get off the golf course and do some fun stuff as well. And that's where, Jeff's expertise with almost, local expertise on some really small, cool little towns. It just appealed to me, and it all just fell together where we thought, let's just do it and get this over with. And then what was kind of fun, Hayden, we had friends that were also avid golfers, and that was always on their bucket list. So they kind of started talking to us about it. And they said, well, can we go with you? And we said, sure. So the more the merrier. So it was really fun to have another couple with us.
Yeah. But we also told them that Jeff was putting together the itinerary for us based on, Jim's criteria in terms of doing local stuff and not doing touristy stuff. And so we said, you're welcome to come with us, but we're doing it Jeff's way, and we're not going to deviate from it. So if you want to do it, the way that Jeff's going to lay it out, come with us. If you're wanting to do more touristy stuff, then we're not the people to go with. And they had a fabulous time.
Good. It's good to have somebody that you can just put all your trust in, somebody that knows, golf over there in Scotland and towns and culture more than most Americans. So
and he listened to, that was a really important thing too, Hayden. Jeff listened to what we were trying to do with the trip and made the itinerary work around that. He, suggested some places and gave us options, and it was really a lot of fun. We had a great time driving on the right different side of the roads. A little unique over there. We had a big van that we had because we had 4 people, golf clubs, bags. So that was kind of exciting, but that was fun. You learned a lot. Yeah.
So let's get into the trip. Tell us where you went and some of the courses that you played.
Oh, wow. Well, we went, the first thing we did was really kind of cool. Jeff's a member of a course, and I hope I don't butcher these pronunciations too bad. Hey, maybe you know better. Lassimuth, right?
So
but
the course is Murray
yeah.
Golf
And
Club.
so Jeff's a member up there. And so that was one of the places that he said, if you want to get off the beaten path, I'd recommend that. And that was the first place we went right after landing the next day. And the fun thing is we met Hugh and Allison. They ran a bed and breakfast there, and great chef. He was actually a professional chef, and I think was a chef for the King of Jordan or something. Mm-hmm. So we got this great guy cooking all our food for us. And then Jeff had arranged to play with some members at his course there. And
Yeah.
that was so cool.
Oh, I bet.
They took us under their wing. We got to know them. Somebody put out an American flag, so they knew we were on the course, and it was just such a great experience. And right away, we loved that. We went over, I think, Castle Stewart, 2 courses there at Lassie, and then Castle Stewart was really a pretty course.
Inverness.
And in Inverness, we enjoyed that course. Obviously, the St. Andrews courses were really fun and fabulous, and we played Carnoustie, a great course. So we got around enough that we thought we really saw some different topography of Scotland, and the whole way that we got onto the old course is a whole nother story. I don't know if you want us to go into that, but that was a whole nother segment of the story. So yeah, but we had a great time.
Yeah. How did that go getting on to the old course? Did y'all have to do ballot? Did y'all wait by the tee box?
We did the ballot, and because Jeff said, okay, if you want to go through a travel agency, you can, but it's going to cost more. So we said, well, no, and we thought we could probably, the ballot would work. So we did the ballot every day that we got there. As soon as we arrived on July 30th, we were doing the ballot. Never got picked. We got to St. Andrews, and we knew we were going to play the other courses. Luckily, what had kind of happened, as fate would have it, Jeff had mentioned an old friend of his, Jack, who was the former owner of the Dunvegan. So I sought him out and just said, Jack, I just want to introduce myself. And he said, well, have you gotten on all the courses? Have you got the old course? And I said, well, we're still trying. And he said, well, something you might think about doing is just at the end of the day, get up really early in the morning and just ask for the last tee time of the day. And they might be able to help you, because we were going to have to leave. We had not gotten selected, so we were going to have to leave. And so at 4:30 in the morning, I'm in line out in front of the starter's place at the old course, Hayden, and I meet my best new friends from, I think one was from Spokane, Washington, another guy from Seattle. We, because you're in line for hours, so we got to be buddies, and they got our name in. And long story short, the starter's name was Gavin. And Gavin wanted us to get on. I just know that he did, because he kind of worked with us, but we weren't able to do anything as a guaranteed time. But he said, I think I can get you on at 5. If there's no members and no other students coming out to golf. So we thought, okay, it's still going to work. So we got all ready to go. And then he said, hey, you've been bumped, but 5:10's it. Said, get ready, because you're in. And so at 5:10 in the middle of August, it's still bright. Yeah. And so we got to play the old course just kind of by the skin of our teeth at the very end of that trip. And so that was really fun to get to go play that. And because we would have had to leave the next day, no matter what. Yeah.
Did y'all get through all the holes?
Yeah, we did. It was fine. It's fine. Wow. Yeah. And we're coming up the 18th. Mm-hmm. Sarah got on the green in 2 on 18, and I hit a decent shot, got a salute from some of the guys. They were clapping, and they said, hey, do you want to drink a scotch? And so I went over and had a drink of their scotch with them, and right at the Rustic. It was great. Yeah. They were from Iowa. Hey, and they were from Iowa, of all places. Wow. So as soon as I said I was from Nebraska, they wanted the scotch back, but it was too late. I had finished it. So
yeah. So how many days was y'all's trip?
We got there on July the 30th and came back on August the 12th. So what, 14 days roughly?
Yeah, good.
And I'd say it was a good time frame to go. I think we were able to get enough stuff. We didn't feel like we were compelled to rush through golf, and we had enough off-course activities that you didn't feel like you had to. It was really, I think, about the right time frame. It really was good.
Jeff threw in this question. Sarah, how did you cope with Jim for 12 days?
Tell Jeff it wasn't easy.
The next show's going to be half that time, right?
Oh, good.
Yeah. But so Sarah, how many off days did y'all have?
I'd say about half the time was off days.
Mm-hmm. We played 6 or 7, 6 courses, maybe. Yeah, I think that's right.
Good. I like, we're pushing that, not necessarily half, but at least having a couple off days to experience the cities. What kind of extracurricular activities did y'all do besides golf?
We did a lot of touring of the local sites. Jeff had given us some suggestions in the various cities that we visited of touristy things to do that you would want to do. Yeah. Obviously, we went through several museums, shopping. You always got to do some shopping. Of
course.
We went to the military tattoo in Edinburgh, which was fabulous.
Oh my!
We had no idea what that was going to be, and that was one of our highlights.
Well, that was one of those things that I'd have never thought of that. But Jeff said, "Hey, you're at the right time. You got to go there." And I thought, well, okay, it's going to be a bunch of guys playing bagpipes. Yeah, but it was fabulous experience. So thank goodness, again, local experience. Jeff knew stuff.
Yeah, I saw some pictures of that, and it looks amazing. I did a medieval thing where it's sort of the same thing inside, but it was like a fourth of the size of what you're talking about. And I'm ready to experience that myself.
I think 9,000 people every night for a month, I think is what it works. So it's amazing.
It's amazing. That's amazing.
And then just touring those areas, the castles and
old Tom Morris, young Tom Morris, their grave sites, the cathedrals, the we really had fun at the gardens, and the pubs were great. That's another thing. The pubs and the restaurants. One of the things I wrote down here to mention, Hayden, is everybody in Scotland is just so darn nice. They're really trying to be. Yeah, they're really trying to be nice to us. I think if we are nice to them, they're going to be really doubly nice back. They're just really great host people.
How many different towns did y'all visit in Scotland, and what was your favorite?
Oh boy. We did a whole bunch. I like the smaller towns. Sarah, I know maybe has some different opinions. I like some of the smaller towns better, just because it felt like Scotland to me. Stonehaven, Jeff had suggested spending some time there. That was great. We really liked Carnoustie. Gullen was a cool town with the museum.
Right.
Only Jeff would know that there was a guy there, David Kirkwood, who just got into the RNA, that had a great little museum that he had actually purchased from kind of another guy. And it was fabulous. It was a hands-on museum where you could touch all the old clubs that were dating back to the 1800s. So that was really cool. Other towns that you're thinking of?
I'm trying to think. I put together a book.
Oh yeah. Oh, I love it.
Oh, that is just fabulous. It has everything in it, Hayden, from pictures to what we did each day to one of the things that we found to be interesting as well. They speak English. There's a lot of terminology that is different.
Mm-hmm.
And so it became kind of a joke. So I started recording or writing down all these different terms and what they meant in Scotland versus what we think of them in the United States.
Have you ever had rubbish?
I captured all those in this book.
Have you ever had a rubbish score, Hayden? That's what they call rubbish, but it's just a bad score. They go, I had a rubbish score on that hole.
Yeah, Jeff always is saying the different terminology, and I just look at him kind of funny.
Yeah,
he's like, yeah, that's a thing. Okay.
Yeah. What we also found that was interesting is the golf courses didn't have restrooms on them.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very rarely did you see a bathroom or a satellite or whatever you want to call them. And so you kind of had to think about that when you teed off on the first hole, that you just don't drink a lot of water or coffee or whatever, because it's 18 holes later before you find a bath, especially for women. Guys can get away with it.
It's very much a pro walking environment too. They want you to walk. But that's part of the fun of having a caddy too. We really enjoyed our caddy experiences, especially like Carnoustie, where it was kind of a really good idea to have somebody that knew their way around that course. So, but the caddies kind of add to the ambiance of the event anyway. So it's great.
Yeah. Which courses did y'all have caddies on?
Well, we had at Carnoustie, and then I think maybe that was the only one. We were going to do one at St. Andrews. Then we got out so late, the caddies were already kind of done for the day. So we just played it. So yeah, I think Carnoustie was the big one we had the caddies at, and we all had it.
Yeah, I think we recommend the championship courses that are tougher to handle. So out of all the courses, which one did you enjoy the most?
I like probably Castle Stewart.
Okay.
In Inverness.
I enjoyed that, but Jeff's courses up at Lossiemouth were just fun because it was instant. You're instantly into Scottish golf, and they're kind of what you'd think they'd be. They're not big touristy. The St. Andrews is lovely, but heck, you can run into an American about every 10 feet, and we enjoyed getting off the beaten path where there weren't so many Americans running around. So, but the courses at St. Andrews are great. The Castle course, really hard there. Jubilee, we played the old course. They were really fabulous courses. But I agree with Sarah. The Castle Stewart was kind of our favorite out of all of them.
And the feel at Murray, just that natural members course. Deep into Scotland. I understand that. A lot of people like to go that route. We recommend kind of splitting it up, getting those championship courses in, and then finding the smaller members courses to really get the feel of the culture. And the fact that y'all got to play with some members, that was seems like it would be pretty cool as well.
And then
Yeah.
here's an interesting thing. After the round of golf, the people in Scotland will still have a pint, just like the people in America, and they tell golf stories and poke at each other, just like we all do. So we were all kind of making fun of each other, and it's just really a fabulous day. The ladies all played. The ladies played with ladies.
Yeah.
And, my friend John and I played with a couple members, and so we had 2 foursomes.
Mhm. But what
That's
we
awesome.
also did when we played with the members, Mary, the other woman, we made a point to ask the 2 ladies as we started playing, please let us know if there's any customs or golf rules or anything that may be different than what we experience in the United States, because we certainly want to be respectful of your golf etiquette and whatever. And so please do not hesitate to say anything. And we really found that golf etiquette is golf etiquette, regardless of what country we were in. And so I found that to be interesting, because I thought there may be some things that would be different. And, so.
Did they do anything different that kind of may have thrown you off that you haven't seen before on the golf course?
No, not really. They didn't do anything, but one of the things we also noticed is people didn't use golf carts.
Yeah.
They call them golf buggies. Trolleys are the pull carts, and golf, golf
buggies and
or the golf car, whatever. And we were just surprised that everybody walked. People just didn't use golf carts.
Yeah, I think it's
I know the game that the game the guys played, it was a kind of like a Stableford. I know there's a name for it over there, but it didn't really matter what you got on a hole. It was how many points were you're getting. So it was a team point thing. So their twosome and our twosome. So it was all team points, and it was fun. It was a Stableford kind of a thing, but it was good.
Awesome. So we talked about your favorite course. What was the favorite thing for y'all off the course?
Well, we really like the tattoo.
Military tattoo.
But I think the other thing too is Jeff's recommendations on where to stay were really great, because we were in these really cool little bed and breakfast deals, and like we stayed at the Dunvegan right there, which is the 19th hole, the famous 19th hole at St. Andrews. And I still remember there was a film recently, Hayden, maybe you saw it, the Golf Channel put it out, and it was kind of it's all about St. Andrews. And they went into the Dunvegan, and here was Luke, and Luke's the kind of owner manager of it. And Luke was the one that checked us in. And so he checked us in at the bar. And then he said, well, I'll help you with your bags. I said, well, is there somebody else you'd rather use? He said, oh, no. He said, I do it all here. So then he helped us with our bags. Then it came back over. He took our drink order. I mean, he's doing it all. So that was kind of fun. Just the fact that a lot of the places, there's a pub downstairs, and then the rooms are overhead, which is very convenient. Very convenient.
Great location too. You can't really beat that.
Yeah, and the food. Everybody's, I think, was kind of worried about the food over there. It was really good. We got really used to eating the breakfast stuff that they had, and you do a lot of seafood because they've got great seafood there.
Yeah,
chips. Oh yeah, fish and chips all the time. Yeah.
If y'all were having to describe the military tattoo to somebody who had absolutely no idea what it was, how would you describe it? For the people who are listening and are saying military tattoo, that's two weird words.
Go ahead, you take a shot at it first. I've got my own.
It was just groups, different musical groups, dancing, singing, playing instruments, formations, light show.
And it's outside, right?
Outside, you're in kind of a stadium and environment, up against a castle. So they had lights that were shining on the castle that depicted different things. Lots of culture with the music.
Yeah, there's good storytelling.
Yeah, storytelling, but a lot of costumes that were native to the country. And
you know what I kind of thought it was like, Hayden, is a little bit like, so you're at a football game and they have halftime. But not only do they have Cincinnati's band come out, but then the University of Nebraska, then they have Ohio State's band, then they have Michigan's band, then they have the University of Florida's band, then they have New Zealand who sent out their band over, and it's all bagpipe and fife and drum, but it's all precise military stuff, and they have dancers and things, and so it's a little bit like a big giant halftime ceremony the way it's set up, but it was just amazing. And
great experience, huh?
Yeah, the lone Piper at the end. They have a guy that just is up in the spotlight, and they have him do a final salute. It's kind of like taps, the Scottish version of taps on a bagpipe. It'll just really put a chill up your spine.
Yeah. Did y'all meet any interesting people in Scotland that ring
We met the author of a book that there was a book that Jim had gotten that kind of talked about various golf courses in Scotland. And when we were at Castle Stewart, there was a lot of commotion going on.
Yeah, Tom Coyne.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there was a lot of commotion going on, and you could see people with cameras and microphones and whatever. And we thought, what's happening? Who's here that must be famous?
Yeah.
So we thought, okay, it doesn't hurt to ask a question. So we asked, and they told us it was Tom Coyne. And so immediately we said, well, we had just read his book in preparation for coming over. And so he had a group out there that he was playing golf with. And so they were coming off one of the greens, moving on to
number
another,
9.
going on to number 10. And so his people went and got him and told him that the 4 of us were there. We had just read his book. And so they brought him over to meet us, and
they did an interview. Yeah, we did a little interview. Yeah.
And, we got to shake his hand. They took pictures of,
awesome.
Us with him, and they were supposedly going to use it in some of their marketing.
That's awesome.
But it was just one of those serendipitous things, as Jim said, where here's this book that we'd read, and we run into the guy. And so,
well, I put a couple names down here that just, I thought just interesting. Hugh and Allison, the owners of the Lossiemouth House, were great hosts, wonderful cooks. Gosh, we got to meet Luke, the bartender and owner, the manager at the Dunvegan. Gosh, David and Dorothy, they were managers at the Greyfriars, who helped us out a lot. Gavin, the starter. David Kirkwood, I mentioned. Earl and Jane, the owners of the Shorehead House in Stonehaven, treated us just so well. And then Alex, my caddy. Lenny was the starter at the Castle Stewart course. Just a wee little Scotsman, had a little twinkle. He looked just perfectly what you'd picture an older Scotsman. A little twinkle in his eye. And he loved hosting a thing, and it was really fun. We wrote all these guys' names. I kind of wrote it under people who made a difference when we went to Scotland. That's why I've got those guys' names down.
So during our trip, Hayden, Jim had a travel log that every night he would write in his travel journal or log to capture everything.
He was telling me about that earlier.
Yeah. And then I, on the other hand, was taking pictures and writing down what we were doing and terms and all that. So between the 2 of us, we kind of come up with some collector's items
for us.
That we can reminisce about,
For sure.
You
got to capture the memories, and there's always going to be new memories. You'll have to make another book for your next trip. And speaking of that, where is that going to be?
We don't know yet. I was talking to Jeff about a few of the things you guys are doing, and those always sound really exciting. A trip to Ireland might really be interesting. A return to Scotland. Portugal has interest to us. And so, and then like Jeff was saying, don't underestimate all the cool places over in in England. Some great golf there that Jeff knows about. So, I mean, that's going to be of interest because we had such a positive experience with you guys planning our last trip. So that always is of interest to go back over there.
So, and what I was mentioning earlier is that we partnered with a golf tour operator in Italy, and we have a couples trip we're planning for 2022, and it is to Tuscany for about 5 days, and then Rome for a couple of days. So it's about a 9-day trip. You get to play Marco Simone, which is the Ryder Cup venue for 2023. And every night you have a different restaurant that we're booked in. It's going to be amazing. So y'all can check that out. I think we're putting up the brochure online today.
It's got to be a fabulous trip. I think Italy, we've had so many of our friends go over there, but no golf. So now when you add golf in as another variable, Hayden, you really catch
4 rounds.
Yeah, you
4 rounds of golf and about 9 days. So it's kind of like your Scotland trip. You get half and half. Yeah, I think it's going to be a perfect amount. And when I was talking to Alberto, who is our partner, actually his podcast came out today, Wednesday, the 1st. And he was talking about the golf courses that he has planned for us. And every single golf course had a different landscape, because you think about Italy, you think about how long it is, you're traveling. There's so many different areas and the landscape and the environment is also very different. So we looked at some pictures and they look fantastic.
Yeah, definitely something to check into.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah. And yeah, absolutely. Jeff probably pushes England because that's where you're going to get the best bang for your buck when you have 6 open championship courses that you can play in one area. That's a good idea as well. I'm taking my first trip to Ireland in April for 2022. So
Cool.
that will be my first experience in the British Isles. And then once COVID dies down in Scotland, I'll have to get out there on the old course. Hopefully have a good experience getting on. So do you have a number one on your list for an area, or have y'all not thought about it?
As far as a next trip, well, Jim mentioned Portugal is one that's of interest because we've heard
the Italy thing.
Now it brings could be of interest as well.
Yeah, well, just go check out the brochure. Alberto has put together a magnificent brochure. He's got pictures of every course, the restaurants that he's going to take us to, and he's pretty much the guide. Like obviously he lives there and he's from there, so he's gonna. I think Jeff and I are gonna be on that trip as well with our spouses, and the brochure is a couple pages, gives you an idea of where we're going to be going, the areas we're going to be visiting. We get an off day in Rome. The hotel we're staying at is downtown. It sounds magnificent.
Oh, yeah.
So check that out. I encourage everybody else to check that out as well.
How'd you make the connection?
Yeah, I know Jeff mentioned that very kindred spirits, the firms, their culture really match up. How did you guys find Alberto?
So it was actually from the podcasts. He watched a podcast from Andrew Cook, who was a part of Golf Tourism England. And we've actually made a couple connections of people watching the podcast and having similar interests. And Alberto reached out to us saying, I have customers in Italy. I want to, converse with y'all and kind of form both of our customers together and maybe make an Italy trip that you would sell to your American customers. And I think it's going to hit the ground running because who wouldn't want to go to Italy? First off, that's a bucket list trip. And to add a little bit of golf to your trip, I think it's going to be the perfect mix. Nobody really thinks about golf in Italy. No. So being able to have somebody that knows these courses and know the country of Italy, it's going to be a great trip.
Food, wine, history, and golf. How do you beat that?
You can't. You really can't.
And shopping.
And shopping. Oh, yeah.
Yes, he definitely mentioned that. Lots of shopping and off days for it. So each city is going to be great for that.
Cool.
So last thing, what advice would you give to couples that may play golf together or go on golf trips together? What advice would you give? Do
it.
Yeah. And here's the other thing is use somebody like you. I think you guys get it in terms of Sarah and I sat there and we wanted it to be a couples trip. We didn't want it solely golf oriented. We wanted to be able to kind of feel like we knew the people and met them and learned about the country and the culture. So I think that's really the fun thing. And I would also say there's probably a lot of husbands out there who might go over to Scotland to play, but gosh, take your spouse along because there's all sorts of stuff to do. Even if she doesn't play, Hayden, there are all sorts of things to do over there that I think even if a non-playing spouse went, it might be me that didn't play golf, but if the non-playing spouse went, they'd still have a great trip. So I think, do it as a couple. We had a great time and find a group of folks, maybe like members of your country club, some people that you already kind of know. So you take some of those folks along with you. So you get to meet some new people, but have some of your old friends too. Yeah, absolutely. So last question, what are y'all going to do different next time? If there is anything, get a driver. Well, or just don't let any of the passengers see what you're doing. Because I think if you didn't know, you wouldn't know how bad it is to be the driver. I was the primary driver, but if the passengers just were blindfolded, I think that would have helped.
I spent a lot of time in the back seat praying.
Did you have a manual transmission?
No, it was an automatic at least, but
Good
that was the
thing.
good thing. Yeah.
Because I've spoke with somebody who had to do it for the first time, and it's the opposite hand.
Oh, sure.
So
Left hand shift. Yeah. The other
I
thing
can't
I'm
imagine.
thinking, Hayden, the other thing to really think of is know the difference between water resistant rain gear and waterproof.
Oh
I
yes.
learned that that's a valuable thing. Mine was
Yeah.
water resistant, and we just got soaked at Carnoustie. And I'm wearing this big limp rag on my body and trying to play golf. So make sure you take good rain gear, because in Scotland, you're going to play. They don't close the courses. The course at Gullen we were going to play, it was like a monsoon that day.
Right.
And we decided we just didn't want to play, but people were still going to go out and play.
Yeah.
So it's just over there, that's what they do.
So I had several girlfriends that have gone to Scotland before and went golfing. And so they asked if we had caddies. And I said, we only did at one golf course. And they said, you've got to be kidding. Why didn't you have them for all the golf courses? And we kind of thought, we don't need them. We know how to play golf. We can figure out where to go and we can chase down our balls. And they said the most fun thing about having caddies was that they could tell you the stories.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And they could share the history, and they said it was more valuable having them there just for the fun part
Yeah.
of hearing the history behind the course, stories, people that had played it, their experiences as caddies with certain players. And they said we missed out on that. So
Yeah.
maybe if I did it again,
Yeah.
I throw
Couple
in the
more caddy
extra
rounds.
money and
Yeah.
have caddies.
Probably a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I was a caddy for about 6 months, about a year ago, and I would agree. Get caddies
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
pay them well, tip them well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we took gifts.
I
Yeah.
speak for all of them.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, but I think, I don't have any regrets. There
No.
isn't anything that I think we did wrong. I think you just need to be aware there's a lot of walking. There aren't restrooms on the golf courses.
Yeah.
Be aware of that.
Yeah.
Only carts
we
for people who have injuries or stuff,
Medical
something
things,
like that,
yeah.
medical problems.
You don't see very many of them. So
Oh,
yeah,
well, I don't think we saw any or hardly
Very
any.
few.
As in
Be
the
prepared.
United States, people take golf carts all the time. And the good news for us is the four of us normally always walk when we play golf. So it was not a problem for us.
Yeah.
But if I would have been a golfer that always rode in a golf cart, that probably would have surprised me a little bit and caught me off guard.
Yeah.
So,
For sure.
being, good shape for a lot
Yeah.
of walking.
Bring an umbrella.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bring an umbrella.
good rain gear.
All right.
And use Jeff to plan the trip. Yeah, use you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. RoyalLinksGolfTours.com. So thank you so much, guys. This was great. I appreciate y'all giving y'all a side to your Scotland trip and giving us y'all's experience. Hopefully y'all get to plan one again soon.
Yeah. Thank you, Hayden. Really enjoyed talking with you as well.
Nice to meet you as well.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Travel Royally Podcast. I hope you can see how much Jim and Sarah really enjoyed their Scotland trip. If you're ready to pull the trigger on your trip yourself, you can go to RoyalLinksGolfTours.com, fill out a vacation customization form, and let us plan out your unforgettable trip to the British Isles. As always, if you enjoyed this podcast, please share, like, subscribe, and follow, and we will see you next week. Thank you.